Hey guys, this is What If Deku Was the Lizard Part 2. Now, this is a what if idea I've done, and What If Deku Was the Lizard Part 3 rebooted. And honestly, guys, this is a really good what if. Last part got like only 40 something views, and honestly, I wasn't really gonna continue this because I really thought no one was gonna watch it. But some people were asking to see it, so well, I'm here recording part 3 of What If Deku Was the Lizard rebooted. I also will be making no, I won't be making any new what ifs. I might be making one or two maybe, and stuff like that. But honestly, it's gonna be pretty chill. I'm only gonna be continuing some long-term what ifs I've had and new what ifs I've made, like what if Deku was Blue Beetle. So I'm gonna be posting. You're gonna get a triple upload today. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy, and let's just dive right into this fanfiction. We start our story off last time where we left off, as Deku, after the combat training at school, he would have gone home, as he would have been sitting or in his room, as he would have been gotten a call by his mom. His mom would have picked up the phone, or she would have been calling the phone, as Deku would have picked it up, as he would have been called by his mom saying that she was in trouble and she needed her help. At Oscorp, something was going down, as he would have heard gunshots and screaming in the background. As Deku would have rushed over there, grabbing on his motorcycle, as he had to have a motorcycle at this point in the story, because, well, he's from a rich family, and at one point he would want to get some vehicles to drive around the city with, other than, just climbing buildings and jumping and scaling buildings with his powers. As Deku started to drive to Oscorp, as Deku would eventually come to Oscorp, as he would have chucked his motorcycle around, as he would have started to scale the building, as he would have started to scale, eventually coming to the top floor, not the top floor, but like the middle floor, right underneath, well, Mr. Osborne's facility. As he would have jumped through it, as he would have looked around, as he would have heard not heard fire, but he would have seen a bunch of fire, flames, gunshots, and everything like that, as it would have been some sort of black man or armed guards running around shooting the scientists and pretty much burning files and different chemicals and pretty much history to what they were working on at Oscorp at this specific facility, because this isn't like the main Oscorp building for political stuff and where the main scientists happen. This is more of a offshore pretty much building on the other side of Japan, near like Deku Beach area. As Deku was started to run around, saving multiple other scientists from these armed guards, as he would have started to claw, scratch, and even rip one of them in two, as one of them has some sort of slime type quirk, so they were fine. Deku would have started to run around and started to just straight up chuck through these men like a rabid dog. Like literally started to just go through them like ham sandwich meat. I mean, like for real, just started to rummage through them. Eventually coming to a nearby hallway, as he would have seen two armed guards about to shoot down his mom. As Deku would have jumped in, killing both of them, throwing them out of the window. But surprisingly to him, someone catch them, as it would have been Endeavor, pro hero. As he would have looked over, seeing Deku, saying what the hell's going on. Deku would have said he was called by his mom, and that some of these armed guards are just killing people around the building. As Endeavor said, that guy from here, kid. As he would have started to use his powers to extinguish the flames and stuff them out or absorb them. And so we started to stop the flames and basically stuff them out, as all the fire was out, as majority of the files were already lost. But Inko having the code for the online files that were, on the web, but majority of the files that were actually important, that had a lot of information on their longest running scientists or longest running experiments, were all gone because they were mainly in physical copies, and only one or two copies existed, and only the other two copies were somewhere in Sokovia, somewhere in Russia, or either some of them even on the the shores of Wakanda, as Deku would have just been kind of confused. Now this takes place somewhat in a different reality, as Deku is the lizard. Some Marvel characters don't exist, but their continents and communities do exist, like Sokovia. Also, another thing, like Wakanda exists, but it is no Black Panther, but it is a King T'Challa. As Deku would help his mom to the hospital, as she would have gotten the help she needed because he was badly injured by the men, as the men were knocked out since Endeavor caught them before they fell on the ground and died. Now we would see that, well, Deku had been walking home, away from the hospital, letting his mom rest. As he would have been walking home, as he would have been approached by a man in all black. So the man in all black would have looked at Deku and would have said, "So, you're Izuku Midoriya, the proclaimed experiment, the lizard. That's your code name people are calling you now. You seem to be all the rage lately. So tell me, Izuku Midoriya, why are you so vicious? Those men were just simply trying to carry out their job and you tried to kill them. They could have gotten pissed, carry out their job. Killing an innocent mother, a woman, is not carrying out a job. It's simply murder." As the man would have scoffed, saying, "It doesn't matter. I've learned about you a lot. Your mother's files on you as a child, they're very interesting. But nonetheless, Izuku Midoriya, I need you. Your DNA, your blood carries a very secret component. Your blood carries the life essence to bring anybody from the brink of death. A lot of people have regeneration quirks, but not a lot of people do. Your blood can cure cancer itself. Your blood is constantly regenerating cells that are at peak physical form. Your blood has the potential to become a next treatment for cancer, a secondary best solution for chemo. Your blood is a literal god blood. I need you. So I'm going to put this very simply. Either you give me all of you, and I'll rip you apart, dissect you, save the world, or you become selfish, and I would have no choice but to kill your mother. As Deku would have gotten pissed, saying, "You won't do anything." As the man would have backed up, saying, "No, I don't think you want to do that." As a man from the shadows with some sort of black cloak would have walked out, as he would have looked at Deku, as he would have scoffed, as he would have ran towards Deku, as Deku would have dodged it, as he would have almost gotten slashed. As the man would have pulled off his cloak, as he would have had some sort of blue outfit with white boots and orange and blue around his outfit, as he would have had some sort of skull mask. As the man would have looked at him, as he would have chuckled, as the man in the black would have told him to execute this boy, but to keep majority of his blood still in his body, as he still needed some of him left after. As Deku would have started to dodge and weave all attacks, as a man would have put, together, saying, "We actually need him alive, so try to knock him out for me, okay?" As the man would have gotten a little bit pissed, him being or looking forward to murdering Deku, as he would have jumped off of Deku and started to hit his pressure points. But Deku's skin was too ragged and sharp, and also his anatomy was very different from human anatomy. To put it simple, the pressure points were not working. As Deku grabbed the man from the arm, as he would have new one, but basically would have grabbed him and would have straight up super slammed, chucked him through a whole ass building, as the man would have been knocked out almost clean. As Deku would have ran towards the black man, or the man in black, as the man would have dodged narrowly, as he would have hit him with a huge electricity type blast of energy, as Deku would have been pushed back into a nearby building, being knocked out. As the man was about to continue and walk towards Deku, trying to capture him, as he would have been stopped by All Might, as All Might would have seen the encounter only a couple minutes ago, as he would have gotten to a fire stance, telling the villain to stay back, and that he would not let you kill this innocent boy. As we would see that, well, the man in black would have said, "Damn it, it's All Might. I can't do this. We're not prepared for this type of shit." As he would have started to sprint and get away from All Might as fast as possible. All Might would have thought about chasing them, but he would have looked back at Deku, seeing Deku was coughing up blood, as he would have grabbed Deku and would have rushed him to a hospital. By the time Deku got to the hospital, not the scientists, but the doctors are kind of confused, saying it's just a joke. The man doesn't even have a scratch on him, barely even a scar. As Deku's regeneration ability would have kicked in a couple minutes prior, him being at full peak physical strength, as he would have been healed pretty fast, but he would still have a little bit bruising left. As Deku was started to limp out of the hospital, as he would have been stopped by All Might nearby, as All Might would have told the kid to go back inside. That's not safe. There's a man after you, and I don't know how it's going to happen. But basically, we see that Deku would have told him, "You're All Might. You're from my school. You teach my class. I don't need help. All I need to do is go back to class, get my hero license, and figure out what the hell's going on with my family, and why these men are after my mom." It's All Might says, I'll have some police and one of my close friends look over your mother. And I will have some police and a lot of my close friends around your house to keep you safe, okay? But you need to stay safe, kid. No more going outside at night. You can never be alone again. As Deku would have agreed to this, as we would get switched a day later. As Deku would have walked into class 1A, as people would have heard what was happening on the on internet, the news about Oscorp's not secret, but offshore facility near Japan, on the other side of Japan, was attacked. Some kid with some sort of reptile powers were beaten to a bloody pulp by a man in black, and another dude that went by the name of some sort of skull face guy. And some people were giving him nicknames like Taskmaster. As Deku would have walked in, as he would have pretty much sat down, as he would have just started to, just reminisce of what the hell is going on with him. As we would see that, Froppy would have walked up to Deku, as she would have tried to comfort him, saying, I think I saw you on the news last night. Are you okay, Deku? Are you okay, Izuku? As Izuku would reply, well, yes, I'm okay. It's just, I don't know what's going on. As I would have said, I don't know much about you, and I really want to know more about you. But if you need somebody to talk to, I'm here. As she would have grabbed Deku's hand, basically caressing it, as Deku would have got a little bit fluttered, as he would have just, said thank you, Froppy. As we get switched to Bakugo just being pissed off at Deku for no reason. As basically the class goes something the same. Eventually, All Might walks in the class as he's told everybody that they are doing the USJ. As they're going to the USJ, as All Might is excused in the middle of the class as he leaves the class. As Aizawa was kind of confused, but Aizawa tells the class to get ready as they're going to be on their trip to UA. As Deku is in his hero costume, as I'm pretty sure his hero costume is just like a skin tight purple suit or either just purple shorts that are like kind of like the Hulk shorts. It was basically, I think I remember narrating and telling you in part 2 about his hero costume. Basically, skin tight, Under Armour type shirt with purple sweatpants that are like kind of like the Hulk's sweatpants in Avengers Age of Ultron, like super tight that can, they're like size fit all, as he has a lizard logo on the back of his shirt. So we see that Deku gets ready as everybody basically in the bus, as everybody starts to make a little bit of small talk. As Deku starts to talk around, as eventually he's approached by Froppy. Froppy starts to talk to him. As you see what I was going with this, Froppy's gonna be like the main ship. But as Froppy starts to talk with Deku, as they start to, flirt a little bit, as the class starts to notice this, as Bakugo basically just scoffs at this, as we see that Kirishima walks by and basically starts to wink at Deku, basically smiling and saying, you got it in the bag, my man. As Froppy's kind of confused with what Kirishima means, but Deku just chuckles and says, I don't think you want to know what he meant. Okay, Froppy. As he starts to talk to Froppy a little bit more, then flirting a lot more, and eventually then being interrupted by, as I was saying that they're a bunch of nasty teenagers, let's get off this bus now before something happens. As we see that the class walks out of the bus, as they're introduced to 13, as Ochaku is super excited because 13 is one of her favorite heroes. As Deku learns about 13, as he also has some memories about watching her sometimes on the news, as he's kind of, interested about her powers. As eventually, we see that Deku eventually is just sitting in the back of the class, not sitting in the back of the class, but standing in the back of the class as everybody starts watching and listening to, pretty much her talk about how quirks are dangerous in certain situations, and this place is prepared to give you those training facilities and those experiences if you're ever in a world-threatening event like a hurricane, volcano rupture, or even such things like a simple common earthquake. As you would see, everybody would start to talk around, as eventually we would see Deku would start to sense something in the air. As he would start to sniff out something, as he would have looked around, as he would have seen a black dot out of nowhere. As he would look closer, as it would have opened up in a matter of seconds, flaying out a bunch of villains. As I would have looked closer, telling 13 to get the students out of here as fast as possible, as something's about to go down. So I would have ran towards the villains and started to literally mile up them left and right. Started to drop kick them, ram voluptuously body all of them straight up. Deku being very confused and actually impressed that Aizawa had these many tricks up his sleeve, as he would have started to take them all down as fast as possible, one by one, taking them down as fast as possible, literally slam dunking them into each other, running them up beside buildings, basically sucker punching them dead in their throats, literally throat kicking them, and literally ball hitting them in the freaking coneheads. As Deku was kind of impressed, as he would have been pretty much slapped out of his focusness on how Zao was fighting from 13, telling him to hurry up as the class was about to leave or try to run out the front door building, as they would have been stopped by Kirigiri. As Kirigiri looked at them and would have said, seems like number 13 is trying to get away. I don't enjoy that, and I don't want you to go. As he was hard to fight 13, eventually 13 getting bodied by, Kirigiri, because inadvertently Bakugo and Kirishima try to jump in and try to jump Kirigiri, but messing up the whole fight as 13 wasn't able to give off her blast, or give off her attack, as eventually they would have all been separated by a huge event, basically leading up to Kirigiri using his powers on them, basically splitting them up throughout the whole field of the USJ. As Deku would have fell down on a nearby building, as he would have stood up, as he would have looked around, as he would have started to walk around, as eventually he would have looked closer, as he would have seen Froppy and Mineta on the other side of the building, because he was on the building right near the water area. As he was about to go take a head start and jump in the water area from that high of a building top, as he did have the little calculation saying that his durability will take more care of the rest from the impact he'll take from jumping at this high of a point on top of that water. But him being stopped by a shield almost hitting him beside the forehead, as it would have hit a nearby pillar on the upside on the top of the building. As Deku would have been kind of confused, him looking around, as he would have seen the same man from yesterday. So the man would have been wearing a black cape, a white cape. As the man would have been Taskmaster. Taskmaster would have jumped off pretty much he was on like a fan area, like a little ventilation system on the top of the building, as he would have jumped off of it. As he would have looked at Deku and him basically scoffing, saying that, I've been watching you ever since that night we've been fighting. I do like your tactics, your skill, use your tail in a lot of your abilities, and use your claws in a lot of your attacks. And you're very well trained, probably trained yourself, but your technique is somewhat sloppy sometimes. And honestly, I see everything, and I know everything. You can't beat me now, because I know exactly how you fight. As Deku just not smiles, but more or less gets pissed off as he smirks with a devious grin as he says, you know how I fight, so you think you can beat me. You sound like an absolute idiot. As Deku would have charged toward this dude as fast as possible, literally booking at this man. As Taskmaster would have dodged it, grabbing Deku's tail and cutting it off with a clean chop from a sword. As Deku would have yelled at him in pain, him falling out to the ground, as he was starting to bleed profusely from his tail. His tail would eventually regenerate and cut off the blood circulation and basically make sure it wasn't bleeding, or the blood would have clotted. As Deku would have gotten up, as he would have seen a stump on his back. As Deku would have looked up, him being pissed, as he would have started to scratch and claw and basically try to karate chop, hit pretty much Taskmaster as fast as possible. As he would have started to use muscle memory, try to use his tail attack, but nothing would have happened. He would have just moved his back towards Taskmaster. As Taskmaster would have grabbed Deku's back, chucking him off the building side. Deku would have grabbed himself last minute using his claws to scale the side of the building. As well, Taskmaster would have said, I see you can jump off of high buildings, right? But can you jump off a high building but just straight up fall flat on your ass? As he would have taken out a shotgun, trying to shoot Deku upside the forehead. As Deku would have jumped out of the way as fast as possible, him jumping down the side of the building, eventually falling into a nearby building inside the window, him almost breaking a few bones. As Deku would have jumped off from the ground, as he would have started to hide. As Taskmaster would have ziplined to the other building using some sort of zipline arrow, pretty much green arrow type shit, as he would have jumped through the window. Deku would have started to basically try to stop his breathing, trying to hide from this dude as fast as possible. As he would have started to use some sort of, camouflage ability. As Taskmaster would have started to look around, him saying, I know all your abilities. I hacked into the My Hero Academia system. I know every power you have, Azuki Midoriya. As he would have looked dead at Deku, Deku being confused on how he could see him, as the man would have said thermovision, as he would have taken out one of his blades or shurikens, chucking it towards Deku, as Deku would have dodged out of the way as fast as possible, him falling out to the ground. As Deku would have ran through the window, trying to jump into another building, but him being stopped by a nearby arrow that would have clapped him with some sort of net, as Deku would have been on the ground, him basically scaring in fear, trying to get away from this dude. As Taskmaster would have taken out a blade, him saying this is going to take very, very, very long, but I'm going to make sure it's very painful, as Deku is screaming, as Deku is actually scared, first time in his life, truly terrified, as this man basically starts to rush towards Deku, as we get stopped by, well, Sniper, a nearby pro hero, as Taskmaster sees this, as he sees and looks around as multiple pro heroes have arrived, as Deku looks at Sniper and looks back at Aizawa, as he sees Aizawa on the other side of the building, since this window area or building there has a bunch of windows. You see that Deku looks back at Taskmaster, as Taskmaster has disappeared. Taskmaster is escaping the dome, basically making a nearby escape as he gets out of the building pretty fast. As Deku is hyperventilating, as he's actually, first time in his life, truly scared. As we see that Froppy and Mineta were able to escape somehow, as we see that All Might was able to take on the Nomu and defeat it, as we see that Deku is escorted to a hospital, as people are just working on him, making sure he's okay, no long-term damage is done. As we see that Froppy does visit Deku in the hospital, as Froppy, knows his, whole, knows his number, I think at one point he gave his number to Froppy during the bus scene, or either in part 2. As we see that Deku would have straight up just started to talk to Froppy, him, warming up to Froppy a lot more, as they would eventually almost kiss, but then be interrupted by Deku's mom from the other side of the hospital, her walking into the room with something or some sort of water type thing hooked up to her. As she would have talked to Deku, saying, "Can you leave me alone with my son real quick?" As Froppy would have left. As Froppy would have said, "It's nice to meet you, Mrs. Midoriya," as she would have walked out. As we would see that, well, she would have started to talk to Deku, him saying that there is some bad people after you, and bad people know the experiments that were done on you, and what happened, and what's going on in Oscorp. As Deku would have been confused and saying, "What is going on in Oscorp? What's going on, Mom? Why is it this man Taskmaster?" One of the pro heroes said they met him in their earlier years of being a hero when they were pulling me out with a stretcher. As we would see that, well, Iko would have told her that there's a lot of things you don't know about me or about how you came to be, the experiments that were done on you. As she basically starts to cry a little bit, saying, "It's so much you don't know and so much I need to tell you." As we leave it off here, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys like and subscribe. As always, guys, have a blessed day. Deuces.